Welcome to our new season, Trade Secrets.
We're handing the microphone to the people who actually build, wire, plumb and finish our homes.
And we're asking them, what are the top 5 things that every home renovator should know?
The mistakes to avoid, the money worth spending, and tips to make every renovation run a little more smoothly.
Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jen.
We're back on episode 2 of our Trade Secrets, where we talk to tradespeople involved in renovating homes and get their best tips for you to learn from.
Yeah, you guys loved our first episode anyway. Ronan got a good rave reviews.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ronan. And then this episode, we have Jason Doyle from JEMI Construction, who was my main contractor for my renovation. And he was unreal. Like, you're going to hear me just going on and on about him. Like, I loved him. He did an unreal job, and we're coming up on 6 years now. So I can confidently say that the job has lasted and I've never had an issue in my house. So he's great. So Jason he specialises in larger jobs, whole house renovation. He is the main contractor on site, so he coordinates all the other trades, etc. That is what he does. He's unreal. So he's
if you're doing a whole
house end to end. Yeah, we asked him the same question. So the first question that we ask in this series is, what is it that you need to plan earlier than you think? So this is what he said.
Planning early is one of the most important things that you need to have done on site nearly before your contract is started. Most windows, kitchen companies have a massive lead times of 8 to 10 weeks. So if you can get in there early to get them things out of the way, which was nearly at the complete start of the job, it's going to pay for itself in the long term. If a job is 12 weeks, that's the contract, and you've got your kitchen and windows organised in the first 2 weeks, that means everything is going to run on time.
Yeah.
Like, what do we always say? Windows, and like he's saying 8 to 12 weeks. It's longer.
It's longer at the moment, I'd say, yeah. Yeah, and some kitchens and windows, actually, depending on the companies, will only start their time from when they've measured. Yeah. Right? So for windows and stuff, they might want to come and measure the openings. And then some builders will agree sizes. And that's where it kind of gets a bit more complicated, but also more worthwhile when your builder works with particular companies. It makes it run a bit more smoothly.
Yeah.
So did Jason work with a lot of the suppliers that you used before, or had he?
He did, yeah. He did with my back. The windows I put in the back, the sliding windows I put in the back. So he was able to do like all the measurements for that, work with the company who did them. The windows in my front and my front door I got separately because I wanted a very specific type. Yeah. But most of my other big items like that, he would liaise directly with the supplier. So it does save a bit of time.
We always say this, but like the decisions you have to make up front, and really, really earlier than you think, because of these long lead times and because of things have to be measured. But also I think it's important, sorry Jason, but like put the pressure back on the builder as well and be like, the kitchen person or the window person says you have to have this done by this date to start that lead time. So it's kind of like, they kind of work off each other a little bit, but I think you can't have stuff picked too soon.
Totally. And there's no point in like rushing to get a contractor or a builder on site and rushing to get like, the first shovel done or getting things knocked over. If you haven't made those decisions yourself, like you're just going to hold things up. So we say it a lot, but like especially the kitchen. It's like if you're on a job, like the weather we've had this year, if you're doing up your house and the windows and doors don't come on time, like the knock-on impact that can have on the build is unreal, because if it's wet, then your house is not weather tight, and that like it could take an extra few days here and there to dry the place out to get the place done. It impacts everything. Like the knock-on impact is unreal. Then you're scheduling, especially for the kitchen, you're scheduling the plumber, the electrician, everyone to come in and do their bit and get that installed. And if you're out a day or two, or you haven't ordered on time or whatever, they're knocked on. And sure, like you all know what it's like trying to get a tradesperson on site. Like they're out the door, do you know? So it needs to be, But you are totally right. You do need to push back on them as well and say, this is when it's happening. This is what the kitchen company needs. This is what the window people need. Like, if you're
because different suppliers will ask for different things, won't they? Like some kitchen suppliers will be like, yeah, give me the drawings of what the layout's going to look like. But if it's a real bespoke kitchen where they're not using many filler pieces, like where you have like your tiny sliver press and stuff like that, they might need to come in and measure the specific space if it's really custom and it's up to ceiling height and no gaps and no filler pieces and stuff like that. Then they need to know exact measurements as opposed to kind of like the ones that are on the drawings that might slightly change based on pipes or wiring or whatever. But I think the first decision I made in my house this time was flooring, actually, because we were pouring concrete and we had to get the levels correct between the different types of tiles and wood flooring, and the concrete had to be poured to match, because our floor tiles, the limestone was quite thick. I think it was almost 20 millimeters. And then the engineered floor was like 14. So like that difference of 6 mil could have had a very early and huge knock on if it wasn't picked and selected correctly,
And it does have a knock on, because I actually made that mistake. I chose tiles for my downstairs bathroom that are really thick. They're terrazzo tiles and they're thick. Like they're, I don't know what, I think they could even be 30. Are they? Anyway, they're much thicker than I expected. And I didn't tell Jason, and he was going mad at me because it means there is a little level difference. Now it's only between the downstairs WC and the downstairs hallway. It's not a big deal. And he put in kind of a sloped what do you call it, like track,
a ramp, like a little ramp thing. Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world, but it could be really annoying for somebody, like if you're walking around your house and, for example, if you're prone to tripping or anything like that, or somebody else is.
Or elderly guests especially, I think that can make a big difference. But like, just to go back to the point on your builder knowing suppliers, so like builders always have a preference for certain suppliers, and some builders will only work with a very select few suppliers per item or per room or whatever. And like, the reason for that is they both know how each other works. They know when they have to measure. They know what the lead times are. They know they can shout down the phone if something's late or whatever or wrong. So I think if you can get what you want to get for your house through someone that your builder works with a lot, I think it's worth a lot for things to run smoothly. And it takes a lot of the pressure off you then if slight things go wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally.
Well, I mean, obviously everyone wants to pick their own specific, suppliers for certain things that they love or whatever they can't get through their builder's preferred supplier. But if you can, I think that makes that whole process so much smoother.
Yeah, because we say that all the time, like all of this is working relationships, and like communication is so important, and like they develop a working relationship, a working language, and it just makes everything go so much smoother. But of course, that might mean that maybe some of your stuff is limited. So like I went outside for kitchens because I wanted to go to Savvy because of your lovely kitchen. I went outside for my front door because I was being I kind of regret it now, to be honest. Like the guy who did it was brilliant, but I really wanted a front door that didn't have a handle because I wanted it to look like the original, the doorknob in the middle and the door knocker on top, and I didn't want a handle ruining that aesthetic. It means my door is really hard to get in and out of.
I've mastered it.
You did what I wanted, so so I did go outside for certain things, but it's extra coordination on your part too, because you have to get in touch with them separately. You have to find out what they want separately. You have to be kind of the interlink then between your contractor and that supplier. And it is a bit slower and it does take a bit longer. It's worth it if there's something you really want, but I'm totally with you. If you can get it at all through their people, it's probably cheaper as well because they all have, discounts going on. So anyway,
definitely.
That's what you plan early. The next thing we asked him was, where should people spend their money?
Spend more money on the actual build, the superstructure. The best quality roofing products and skylights are available. Don't cut corners on these things. We live in a strange climate here in Ireland. It practically rains all year round. Make sure that you've spent money wisely on guttering, downpipes, skylights, roofing products, slates. Don't buy the cheap ones. You'll regret it in the long run.
Like,
this is why your house hasn't fallen down, Jen, because investing in the structure, what we say is investing in the things that are hard to change. You can't change the insulation once it's in, your walls are plastered, you can't change the roof easily. So I always think invest in the structure. And look, I know everyone wants a beautiful Pinterest-worthy house at the end, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't work well or you have issues down the line and leaks and whatever. So invest in the structure, 100%.
It makes so much sense. And it's one of those things that you could be reading through your bill of quantities or whatever quote that you get back after the tender process. You could be looking at ways to save, and you should do that. And you could be looking at like, why is there so much money on gutters? They're only gutters. But if they don't work, if the drainage is not right. And another massive thing I think is he mentioned skylights there. And skylights are like, there's always a risk that, especially around the corners of skylights or roof windows or whatever, that they leak, because he's right, it rains in Ireland all the time. And it has to be done right, and it has to be fitted right, and you have to get the right supplier who can do all of that, and the quality is worth spending on. Because if you save money there and then you spend extra money on, I don't know, like a beautiful dining table, whatever, which you can, and then it leaks all over your dining table and then you ruin it anyway, it's not worth it. Like the bones of the house.
You can furnish slowly, but you can't rectify those kind of core structure things when they're gone wrong. Like, it's so hard.
And I think this is hard for Irish people too, because like we might be talking to like American cousins or, people in other countries who are like, how in the world are construction costs so high in Ireland? And listen, they are very high. And some of that is, just because supply and demand or whatever. But some of it is that our houses are just harder to build, like because it's a wetter climate. It rains all the bloody time, and it's harder to build against that. It's harder to insulate against that. And the cold winters that we have. So, that stuff he's right, the superstructure. Just do not
invest in your structure.
Do not scrimp on that. Yeah.
If you're thinking about insulating your floor slab and pouring new concrete and doing underfloor, now is the fucking time. Don't do it. Don't like save the money for a better sofa and better whatever bedroom furniture and then regret it,
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay, the next question is where do people tend to waste money?
Don't waste money on up-to-date trends. I've seen clients in the past do things like, because they've seen them in the magazine, polished concrete, microfiber, cement floors, without even knowing and seeing these in reality. Sometimes what you see in a magazine is totally different when it's in your house. And a lot of these products require extra care. So they look great, but they can also be problematic.
Yeah.
I think the tip there, my one key takeaway there, because I'm not against trends, micro cement can look great, polished concrete can look great. But he said something there which I think is so important, which is go and see it in someone's house first. Like go and see what it's like in real life, and go and talk to someone who's done it and understand the nuances of it and the upkeep of it and what can go wrong with it before you do it. I did that because I love the look of polished concrete floors. I think it looks class, and I had considered it. And then I spoke to a former colleague of mine. Oh God, I love him. It was a disaster. It got the wrong concrete, or just whatever batch of concrete arrived. It was just a darker mix than what they'd expected, and it was poured before it was too late.
Yeah.
And it has since, there's been a crack, because our houses are they tend to, I don't know what's going on here in Ireland with the foundations of our houses, but they do tend to move and settle quite a bit, and cracking can happen. And sure, then the whole thing is ruined.
We've massive fluctuations in moisture as well. So like the concrete and probably heat. Between our seasons, like even like I find the timber doors in our house, like they feel completely different in the wintertime and the summertime when they're drier in the house or whatever, So it's like, I think that can all make a big difference in finishes being suitable for your house. Now, in saying that, I mean, I love polished concrete. I love terrazzo. I was kind of in the same boat. I'm like dead set in terrazzo, but it was so expensive. And then the more I spoke to people, you were like, you can only get these colours. They can only be in this size block. And then I was like, God, I don't want to spend that much money on it, not be the perfect floor that I love. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I think it's a really valid point. Jason says, like, you have to design for your life as well. Like, you know, not Pinterest and not like, oh, I love this floor. Oh, one thing actually, open shelves in the kitchen. So like, I know you hate overhead cabinets. I get it. I love a shelf in a kitchen. Yeah. But I also kind of curate it. You know, I've art in it, and I have a clock in it, and I have some
and you've
nice
designed
cookbooks.
a messy area to put the things
corner
that need to be put somewhere, and that so you can
but
keep
sometimes
the rest of it
I've spoken with clients, or I've been in their house and they're like, I want an open shelf. I'm like, why do you want an open shelf? You know, like, what are you going to put in the open shelf? And unless they can answer me that, I'm like, it's a bad idea then. Like, because the last thing you need is a load of Tupperware or a load of kids' lunch boxes and bottles up there, because don't have an open shelf then. Have a big drawer for all that shit if you can fit it in the kitchen. But then you have to decide what is actually going to work for you in your life.
And if it is something that like you're just going to curate and you're just going to have a load of like clay pots up there, which looks great, don't get me wrong, are you going to dust them then constantly? Are they going to be constantly dusted? Because otherwise, if you're not moving stuff around from there, if it's not in use, then it just gets dusty. Because I do have open shelves, but it is my alcohol, it's my drink bottles and my glassware. And I tell you, they all get quite a lot of use. So I don't really have any issue like dusting up there.
It's true though, you just need to design for your life. And flooring, he was mentioning like the upkeep of, say, micro cement floors. Like I did micro cement in my old bathroom, and people were like, would you not have done the floors as well? But when I researched it, people were like, the floors are a disaster because they scuff. And especially if you get any kind of shoes, especially rubber shoes, they can leave a big black streak mark on the micro cement. And I was like, I don't want a floor I'm nervous about and protecting all the time. And like, so things like that, you know, take the pictures that you love on Pinterest and deconstruct it and see how durable they are and see how good they are for your weather or your light, if they're different colors or finishes and stuff. So like, never design your house around a picture of someone else's house, I'd say.
And we're not saying don't get it. Like I wouldn't, if you're listening to this and you're like, but I love polished concrete. Like I'm not saying don't get it. Well, I just think the point he made there, which is go see it in real life. That's so important. It's not just to see it. It is to see it, see what it looks like, an Irish light and all that. But it is to talk to someone who has installed it and who knows the pros and cons of it, and then make sure. And if that works for you, fantastic. Off you go. Like, you know, again, like not saying don't get it, but just research it. Don't get stuck to something that might not work.
Agree.
Okay. The next question we have for Jason is, what should you do to make the whole renovation process go as smoothly as possible?
Do this to make the bill go smoothly. Constant information between you and the builder. Get up close and personal. Good quality builders are used to people being in their face, constantly talking to them, emailing them, messaging. They don't mind. They need to get inside of your head to get inside of the mind of what you want in your project. Relationships.
I mean, like, what have we been saying?
I love that. But that's what Ronan said last week as well. The more information you give, as soon as you have it, We've said that before, like you might feel a bit nervous that something came and it's slightly different than what you ordered or whatever, but tell them straight away. Don't tell them in a week's time when it's a bigger problem. Tell them now, like, and that communication, God, like you should be kind of almost feel like you're wrecking your main contractor's head a little bit. But also when we talk about communication, like have a clear communication pathway or an agreed method of communication between you and your main contractor, so stuff doesn't get lost as well. Like maybe you have a main channel, maybe that's your WhatsApp, maybe you have a doc somewhere you both update, maybe you've, I don't know, something that you've agreed.
If it's email, like that's all fine. But be in charge of keeping track of where the communication is happening and documenting what the latest version of it is. And you know, there's a bit of upfront work and just in getting that locked in. But again, this is a job, an expensive job where people are getting paid and you're spending a lot of money. So put that effort in. The other thing I think as well that I've seen is Ireland as a culture has a very indirect communication style. So you might go to other countries or you might know people from other countries, for example, the Netherlands, even France. They are very direct. They will say what they think, and it's a politeness for them to say things directly and not beat around the bush. Irish culture, we beat around the bush. That's all we do.
Opposite.
We exclusively beat around the bush. Like we're so indirect, and so that's not helpful when it comes to this type of working relationship, because you're right. Something will come. You'll have ordered. Maybe you've made a mistake. Maybe you ordered the wrong thing. Maybe you forgot to order something, and it's ingrained in us to just be like, oh, I won't say anything now, or I don't want to put them out, or would it be okay if we just did this now this way, and would you mind, and blah blah blah, and like just go around in circles. And I think we need to knock that out of ourselves when it comes to renovation, because you need to be not rude, but like direct, and just, know constantly that the earlier you say something, the better it is going to be for everyone. Maybe somebody gets a bit pissed off for a few minutes. It's going to be grand. Just get it said, move on.
Agree. Totally
Anyway.
agree. Yeah.
But I thought that was great. I think that's a really, really good advice. Okay, finally, the biggest mistakes that he sees homeowners making during renovations.
The biggest mistake I see clients making, I see it time and time again, is under budgeting. Good knowledge of the costing is so important from day one. Keep on top of the budget, and remember, it's not the builder's job to keep you on budget on the likes of the things that your children, kitchens, appliances, sanitary ware. If you have a budget of €5,000 for sanitary ware, well, then it's up to you to stick to that €5,000. So good knowledge of products, where you can source them. The builder will always be helpful and put you in contact with his contacts.
Like, again, I just think that I think the issue can be for a lot of people that you start when you start your renovation, the first kind of numbers that you're working with are a quote that you're getting from your contractor or the tender process or whatever, right? And you might even be super organized and keeping track of your, maybe architect's fees, solicitor's fees, quantity surveyor, whatever else, interior designer, if you are working with one. But I think a lot of people forget that there's a huge spend, 30+%, again, that needs to go into finishing the house. And you could easily have completely lost track of what that is. And you might, it might mean, like, as we always say, that's fine when it comes to like your couch or your bed or whatever, like just smaller things you can replace later. They're not a huge spend, that's fine. But if it means that you're really getting stuck when it comes to putting in your kitchen or whatever, then that's a disaster.
That's a problem.
So if you're listening and you are early in the process and you are, maybe haven't gone to tender yet or whatever, I really recommend putting together a spreadsheet. You can download for free on my website, jennysheehan.com, where you track every single item and you start getting quotes earlier for every single item, especially the bigger ticket items, because that budget will get eaten into fast. And like Jason is right, if it's something that you are choosing yourself, you'll get, like in your builder's quote, you'll get lines typically that will say PC sum, and that is an estimate of an average cost for example, sanitary ware or flooring or paint or whatever. But it could be way more than that if you want specific paint or a different finish or, nicer taps, whatever it might be. So that is your responsibility to know that and keep track of that.
Like, I think as well, like when you start going shopping for things, like our minds wander a little bit and we see something that's a bit nice or whatever, and you think like, oh, sure, that tap's only an extra €50 versus the one I budgeted for €100 or something. But that could happen 20 times when you're shopping or something, and it very quickly turns into thousands and maybe tens of thousands over a whole renovation, or a tile that you loved, you now saw a slightly nicer tile for an extra €10 a square meter. So it's really important to kind of like track every bit of that, and not just like the main things like say the tiles per square meter. Think about all the ancillaries that go with that. So like, you might buy a specific grout. You might want a coloured grout, and now that's more expensive than the standard grout. Or you might want brass stripping between your floors. Like, has that been included in your square meterage? So because these are all, maybe tens or hundreds on the day, but they'll very quickly start adding up to thousands. So like, the more organised you can be with the budget, and the more complete, like you said, using your doc or whatever with the budget, the closer you'll stay to that. But like, also one tip that we gave ages back, I can't even remember what episode it was, but we were talking about having like your kind of wish list or your non-negotiables.
Your dream list.
These have to be in my house. Like, and that could be for you a certain type of floor or whatever, or maybe it's cast iron rads or something. So they're locked in, like they're unchangeable in your budget tracker. And then you have the other ones that you now have to like get your second choice or your third choice on the other stuff that are kind of movable ones. So like being so clear on that as well helps you stick to budget. And I also think as you're nearing the end, like shop around as well, like that will help you pull it in a little bit. So like for me, I locked in my flooring early because I went with the limestone, but then the bathroom tiles, I definitely shopped around because I could kind of push that right to the end, as in the wall tiles and all that. And so I got them for like half the price, and tile style on on sale or something. So like sometimes you can get little clearance deals, and that'll help you pull in the budget from elsewhere. But just have your non-negotiables locked rock solid, I would say.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. I think if you're listening to this and you're like, well, that's not going to happen to me because I don't care about tiles, and I'm not going to be using brass strips, or normal taps are grand for me. I promise you, when you get into it and you start looking and you see what's on offer and you see the kind of nicer things, you're going to start wanting them. So it's just great to get ahead of it.
Of course. And you know where people lose their mind is lighting. Like the amount of clients I've worked with, and they're like, sure, I don't care, we're just going to have pendant lights everywhere. And then they start looking at lighting and they're like, I saw this beautiful light, but it's €800. I don't know if I can budget. And like, oh my God, the budget starts stretching when lighting comes into it. Because I always compare like bathroom fittings, like brassware in bathrooms, and lighting. It's like jewelry. Like once you start looking at it, you start seeing the next level, and you're like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Look at this light. Oh my God, I found this brand today. And then you know, the wheels come off. So you really need to budget for it. But I also think, like, you know the things that you can change down the line. Maybe you're falling in love with some of the lighting, but just get a basic wall light fitting for now, or something, you know, like the little cast concrete ones, and do the dream one down the line.
Yeah.
That
is it for our main contractor. Solid advice. And let us know what you think, and we will see you next week.
Yeah. See you then.
If you enjoyed that episode, likes, shares and subscribes really help us out. So if you can, please do. Thank you.